Employment, thanks, Erica. Employment is when you are working and getting paid by an employer. And then workforce is anybody who's working or available to work. So I just want to put those definitions out so we all know what we're talking about. In the schools, the Department of Education and Workforce has said that starting with students 14 or younger, there needs to be a formal secondary transition planning process to support people to move towards competitive integrated employment, education, and independent living. Some things to consider, because I've heard families say, oh, my loved one can't work. Well, work does not mean 40 hours a week. So let's just put that out there, okay? I'm self-employed. I do not work 40 hours a week. Why would I anyway? Why would I do that? But anyway, but we also, I see some of you smiling. We also want to make sure that we support families, students, and professionals to have a vision of employment from an early age. So, do we ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do we learn about their interests? And work or a job is not the end point. So our goal is not let's get people a job. Our goal is let's have them have a good life and help them understand that a job is a means towards that good life, just like it is for all of us. Your good life, I'm guessing, is that we can pay our bills, that we have our own money, that we can do fun things. We have enough money that we can do fun things, and we can take care of ourselves and our families. So please remember the person's first job may not be their last job. Because how many of you have had a job and said, I'll never do that again? Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, I tried it, never, never again. And why? Because we learn from experiences. So one of the resources that the handouts is this exploring employment portfolio. Now, I hope a lot of you have seen the general Charting the Life course portfolio, but this one is specific to people to help them start thinking about employment. So they may not have a job in mind that they want, but let's just start the conversation. So you can, if you're a professional, you can use this portfolio, but what I really hope you're doing, whether you're a professional, a family member, or someone with lived experience, is that you are using this to have conversations with people, to record what they're telling and sharing with you, and then give it to them to think about it. So on the first page, the one-page description, there are 3 sections, kind of parallel to the 3 sections on the regular portfolio. What am I good at or interested in? So it's a little different than the typical portfolio. Why is it important to work? So finding out from people, why do you think getting a job is important? Why do you want the job? What do you hope you'll get from having a job or work, whatever terms we're using, so that we can see if they even have that vision of, I want a job so I can go on vacation or go to concerts or have my own place. And I know a lot of times I had to explain to people, yes, you get an SSI check, but that SSI check is for your rent, for your, it's not for going to concerts. It's intended to meet your basic needs. If you want to go on vacation, you got to have your own money, or what I call disposable income, which we all have. And then the third section is, what kind of help or support do I need to help me discover my job or career goals? And I love that the term career is used. I did not want a job. I wanted a career. And my career that I always talked about from the time I was a young child was to be a speech pathologist. And I would tell people that I'm going to grow up and be a speech pathologist. And the reason I knew what that was because my brother had cerebral palsy. His speech was difficult to understand. And from the time I was 4, we had speech pathologists coming in our home. So I knew what they did, okay? I had experiences and opportunities. What kind of experiences and opportunities do people we support have? So the first section, that light blue section, the light blue section is what am I good at or interested in? And asking people, what experiences have you had? You know, this gentleman who has a scooper business, I don't remember the name of his business and I feel bad, but he also has a dog. He has a support dog. And so he grew up having dogs. He likes animals. So that's the experience that he's had. So he knew all about cleaning poop. Not me. I've never had that experience. But what opportunities has the person had? What kind of hobbies do they have? So, you know, I know decades, God, it has to be 20 years ago, we were working with someone whose hobby was magic. And he developed his own business to do magic shows. That was his hobby. And he had a mentor in the magic community. Or what are their talents? I know one woman in Southwest Ohio who's very crafty. And so she makes, oh my gosh, centerpieces for events at her church. That is her talent. And so that is the work, some of the work that she does. She's retired now. In the orange section on the one page, why is it important to work? So what are people's perceptions? You know, I tell people when they tell me I need to get a job in the community, I'm like, thank you. I know we've told you you need to do that. That's a system goal. But what is it that you want to do? Why do you want a job? And helping them understand the power of work and employment. So do they want to earn money for their good life, to go on vacation, to go to concerts, because when I ask people, what do you want to do? They mention vacation a lot. They've mentioned going to concerts a lot. They mention going to movies a lot, and having their own place. Well, if you want your own place, you got to pay bills. So where are you going to get that money from? But also, all of us know that having a job also gives us a valued role in our community, because what's the first question we ask anybody that we meet? Whether we meet them with a group of friends, whether we meet them at in our faith-based community, at the gym, what's the first question we ask them? What do you do? That's a valued role that we have employment, we're contributing. And also a sense of accomplishment. You know, I have a job. When I ask people, what are you proud of? A lot of times people will tell me that they have a job or that they volunteer. I help out at my church. I help out at, one gentleman, I had to laugh. He was in his 60s and he told me he volunteered at the old people's home. And I just went, when does one become an old person? As this 60-some-year-old man was talking to me, but I loved it. Our job gives us purpose and meaning. You know, we have a purpose. We feel important. We feel valued. And how many of you met friends at work? I mean, you know, we've developed friendships through our work. And how many of you socialize with your coworkers off the clock? You know, you go out and hang out together. So, you know, I'm actually having lunch with a former coworker who's a friend this week, and I'm excited. It's like, that's how we developed our friendship, because we worked together. The third section is, what kind of support do I need to help me figure out what I want as a job or as a career. Do I have a mentor? This one gentleman the gentleman who wanted to be a magician, he actually started going to a magic shop. Who knew? I mean, it's in Cleveland. I don't know if it's still there. And he would talk to the people who work there, the owner, and he became his mentor. Let me show you, let me introduce you to other magicians. What supports can they job shadow somebody or just go see what the work is like? How many of you have been asked by your kids' school to talk about the job that you do? And why do they do that? To expose the students to different things. What do you do? I know when my nieces were little, they asked me to go to their classes, and I talked about being a speech pathologist, and I taught the kids sign language. And they were like, woo, but they were exposed to, I work with people who don't use speech or whose speech is difficult. They may use signs. Or do we even show people videos when they tell us, I want this kind of job, and show them, this is what the job entails. And sometimes when people watch those videos, they go, yeah, I don't think I want to do that now. I can't do that. The second tool in the Exploring Employment portfolio is the trajectory. So the purple section on the far right has two boxes. We want people to think about, on the left part of that section is, what's my vision for a job or career? And then on the right in the purple is, but what's my vision of a good life? So we can show people that in order to have your good life, you also may need a job or career. I've only had one person tell me they didn't need a job. One woman with lived experience said, Barb, I want to go on vacation every year. I want to fly here. I want to go there. And she was naming places like Hawaii and, resorts. And I was like, you probably need to have a job. What work do you do? And she said, I don't work. I don't have to work, Barb. And I said, well, it costs money to go on these trips. And she looked at me and she said, Barb, I have a trust. And that is the only time someone has come back at me with, I don't need to work. And I thought, okay, I have nothing to say. Okay, you have a trust. Your family was smart. What can I say? But we also, just like when we ask anybody what their trajectory is, we want to ask them what they don't want. So what kind of a job or career don't you want? And what don't you want in your life? Now, this is very important. I've worked with people who have said, I worked with one young man who was graduating from school, and mom said, he can't work, Barb. And I showed her videos of people working. Her son did not use speech to communicate. In fact, I only heard him say two words. One was no, and the other one was mom, and that's it. And so I asked her, what do you think he would like to do? And she said, oh, Barb, he's so good around the house. He keeps his room immaculate. He picks up dishes. He washes them. We don't have a dishwasher. He's so helpful. And I said, well, do you think he'd want to work in a restaurant? And she said, oh, no. He gets very anxious when there's lots of people and lots of movement. So of course, when I was making the referral to employment, I wrote, doesn't want to be where there's lots of people, lots of movement, like a restaurant. Other people have told me they can't work where the lights are too bright, like a grocery store, because that'll cause them anxiety. So we want to know what the dislikes are. Other dislikes are I've heard, are having to get up early in the morning. I'm good after 10 a.m. And it's like, okay, that's what works. And then the blue sections on the left side of the trajectory are asking people about their experiences and their opportunities. So what have you done that's helped? Have you had a pet? Did you take care of a young, people who want to work with children? Did you ever babysit? Did you have a younger sibling that maybe you did provide that care? So you do know what it's like to take care of a child. Um, did you ever pet sit, or did you have a pet? So you know what it's like to take them for walks, to clean the poop, to clean the litter box or whatever. So that maybe you can, or maybe you've cut the grass, for your family. And so, have you ever cut the grass for neighbors? What kind of experiences have you had? And then what have you done that got in the way? Maybe you tried something and it didn't work, or maybe you worked with a certain type of a supervisor and it didn't work. So capturing the impact of experiences and opportunities, both that helped and also that maybe did not help. And then the third resource is the integrated support star. And this is different for exploring employment. So in the middle, in that white area, we always put, what are you focusing on? And that what you would write in the middle is exploring employment. And then everything that you're looking at, the supports, are what will help me identify my career goals. And I'm going to flip to the next slide. This star is in that employment guide that we gave you. I think it's about 20 pages long, but this star is in there. So here's some things to think about or ask people about for helping them explore their employment. So what kind of supports? Do they have chores? Do they have responsibilities? Have they volunteered? Have they done work? Do they know how to drive? Do they know how to use public transportation? Maybe the family has a car they can use to go to work. Under technology, can they fill out a resume online? Or is that something they're going to have to learn? Do they know how to use different apps on their tablet or smartphone? Do they know how to record? Because I worked with one woman who we actually recorded her doing the job properly so that she could watch herself do the job. She also got upset when things went wrong. And so we taped her pretending to get frustrated and then taped her doing what the utilizing the strategies to calm down. Because when she got upset, she cursed, and you cannot do that in an office. And she kicked the copy machine. You cannot do that in an office. So we had her pretend being upset, kicking the machine, cursing, and then we said, now what should you do? And videotaped her using her strategies so that no one had to tell her. She could just pull out her iPad and watch the video and realize how to calm down. Relationships. Who do they know that can help? If they want to work with pets, do they know anybody who has a business? Do they know the people at the local pet store? Can they go and volunteer? Do they know anybody who works at the animal shelter? Community resources. Are there things in the community where they can volunteer and try new things out? Community resources are things that are available to anybody in the community. And then, of course, eligibility would be, of course, your employment services, employment specialist, a provider, the county board, opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities, OOD. All of those you have to be eligible for. So this star is in the booklet that we gave you. And I am at the end. If you have any questions, I forgot to tell you, I'm so sorry. 30 minutes kind of puts me in a I got to talk fast. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to stay on. A couple of things that are coming up for us in March, we have a showcase. It will be in person. We hope you sign up on FRNO to hear about all the presentations we're doing. And next week, I will cover during this session, not the exploring employment portfolio, but the actual employment planning portfolio. So someone knows they want a job, they have an idea. How do we support them? So I hope you think about using the exploring portfolio to start having conversations with people, helping them think about what have you done, and also helping the family think about, oh, geez, I didn't even think about that, or I didn't even realize that that would have an impact. So thank you for attending. Go eat your lunch if you haven't already. When you're talking about these great things you did to help this person, who encompasses the we? Actually, the employment specialist, the SSA, the speech pathologist. Thank you, Marla, for the question. And it was somebody at the county board. I actually did work with the employment person. And we worked with their supervisor in their work setting. So not a county board or employment specialist, but actually said, here are the strategies she can use when she gets upset. You can just remind her, take out your iPad and watch the video. And she never had to be reminded because she valued that iPad and pulled it out and would watch the videos. Thank you for the question, Marla. It was a team. And her residential provider, her parents were deceased. So she lived in a group home and they were using the same strategies at home, not related to what she did at work, but related to things at home. So they videotaped her using some of the strategies she could use at home. Anybody else? Thank you, Marla. Good to see you. All right. Thank you, everybody. So nice to see some of you again, and hope to see you next week.